Thank you. It's wonderful to see you all here and on such a steep rake as well. Dominique is here tonight to talk about his work and partly to talk about what's described in the film festival program as the cinéma du look, but his career extends way beyond that. He's described on his French Wikipedia page as une gueule du cinéma, gueule. And it says he was known originally for portraying marginaux, assassins, and clochards, marginal characters, killers, and tramps. And you played a marginal killer, kind of marginal killer tramp, I guess, in a film which some of you will have seen just tonight, which is Diva. Mm-hmm. So why don't we start by talking about Diva? You saw it tonight. It came out in 1982.
I saw half of it. It has been long. It had been a long time since I haven't looked at it. So I wanted to look part of it this afternoon, and that was my very first film. I should say my first long feature film, and yes, with Jean-Jacques Benex as a director. And as I said before the screening, Jean-Jacques Benex, I met him for another film, a first project he had and he couldn't do, and he had the idea coming to London. He was writing Diva and taking the tube. Taking the tube in London. He saw a guy who looked like a skinhead and dressed with a battle dress, and he had the idea of taking me to the film and being like that guy in the tube. That's how I had the part and how I was cast in it.
And watching the film tonight, did it bring back any memories of making it? Did you have a nostalgic flash?
Yes. I remember we shot around the Champs-Élysées one scene, and it was the time of there was a big how do you say bombing in Haiti. Rue Marbeuf was a big bad thing, and we were shooting the day after somewhere in the Champs-Élysées, and the set was quite far from the toilets. And I was dressed for my work with my battle dress and skinhead, and I went to the toilet. And coming out of the toilet, there were two plain policemen.
Detective.
Yeah. And they just told me they wanted to arrest me, and I told them. Well, the set is there. It's not far. I can take you. And they didn't want. And I just they wanted to search in my pockets. And in my pocket, of course, I had this. And after a while, I could persuade them then to go on the set. And
right.
Yeah.
What did you have in your pocket?
Well, how do you say in English? It's not a knife. It's just like it's very. Yeah. No. No ice pick. No. It's no. It's smaller than an ice pick. It's like a
dagger.
Yeah. It's It's.
Yeah. But it's the thing.
Well, it's a knife.
The thing that you throw. Yeah. The thing that you throw in people's backs in the film.
I beg your pardon?
The thing that you throw.
Yeah,
in
that's
their
right.
backs.
That's right.
Yeah. And did you have an idea at the time that this film was something new? Because at the time, people were saying, c'est la nouvelle vague, and it was a kind of new spirit. It was a punk spirit in French cinema.
Well, no, I personally, I didn't, because that was my very first film. I was a young actor, and I was very impressed by the set. I had just my experience of a drama school and not of a cinema set. So I was, I don't know, I didn't understand nothing to the lights and everything. But what I can say is the personality of Jean-Jacques Benex was very strong, kind of new one. But well, you always expect that the film would be successful, and but at the time I shot it, no, I didn't have the feeling that it would be a new way of making images.
But, I mean, there wasn't very much in French cinema at the time that felt kind of punk in a way. And you came along with your skinhead cut and your glasses. And it's a strange character because he doesn't say very much except j'aime pas ça. And he has his
He had this, plug here. And all along the film, you don't know what he's listening to. And it's only at the end, when he dies, you discover is listening to musette, accordion. Yeah. You would think he would listen to some punk music, and it's just a.
So let's talk about what you did before that film, because you studied at Poitiers originally, I think.
Did I study at Poitiers? Yes. Yeah. No, I'm not originated from Poitiers. I was born in Saumur. But I did all my scholarship in Amiens, in Picardy, yes. And after Amiens, after my graduation, I didn't know what to do, and I spent a year in America with a program, for an exchange program, in Alabama. And then
what were you doing? Was that theatre related?
No. It was related to the. Just spending a year in the family and going to high school.
Right.
So, learning the American way of speaking, you know, and
which obviously you got it to a T.
And then afterwards, yes, I went to when I got back to France, I went to Poitiers and I did some 2 or 3 years at. French literature, but I didn't know exactly what to do.
And then you studied at something called the Cours Simon, which is basically a theatre school.
Yes, that's right. When I arrived in Paris, I went to Cours Simon because it was the only thing I heard of. You know, Cours Simon was quite famous, so why not going there? So I went there 2 years, and then I began to work in theatre and doing short films and things.
And you did a short called La Découverte,
yes.
Which I just saw for the first time tonight because Jim Hickey mentioned that it's on YouTube, and you can see it's on YouTube, and it's very stylish. And so was that your first experience of really being in front?
My very first experience on film, yeah. Yeah, and there was a very, very impressive, the director is Arthur Joffé, and it's still a big friend of mine.
And you carried on working with him, I think, on some of his
Yes,
features.
we did a second short film called Merlin, who won the Palme d'Or of short films in Cannes in '82, something like that. Yeah. And he did some long feature film. He did a film called Harem with Ben Kingsley and Nastasia Kinski. And well, now he's having a hard time to shoot. He's talented, but it's hard to do films.
So after Diva, you carried on working with Jean-Jacques Benex.
Yes.
And you made a number of films with him. And one of them was La Lune dans le Caniveau, which was his second film,
The Moon in the Gutter,
which had an all-star cast, and it was Depardieu and Nastasia Kinski, and it was filmed in Cinecittà.
Oui.
And it was quite controversial because it was such a massive film that everything was riding on it, including Benex's reputation.
The relationships between Benex and Depardieu that were quite difficult, and the work with the Italian technicians wasn't very easy too, because they thought that the Italian technicians said Benex was a little Mussolini, and so it wasn't very easy shooting. And at the same time we were shooting, there was the football World Cup in with so it was. And what was the question?
Well, it's a question about how the film was received, because it was very controversial at the time.
Yeah, it was shown in Cannes. I think I wasn't there, but it was very, very controversial because the most critics said it was chic trash. You know, it was chic trash. That was the main critic of the film. And because also it was quite long. I don't know how long it lasted. And Jean-Jacques Benex had problems with editing. You know, it was not his editing he wanted. And that was.
Because there does seem to be a phenomenon in France that French critics very often are waiting for, to be able to say, this film is a disaster.
Yeah, especially when the first film is a success.
Yeah.
So they wait for you at the second one to hit you. Yeah.
And then the third one, it came right again, because that was what's the French title?
37 le matin.
Le matin, better known as
Betty Blue. Betty Blue in English. Yes. Yeah, that was a huge success. Yeah.
And were people expecting that to be a success? Because it became this kind of international, it became the image of, modern French cinema for a while.
Yes. Well, that's the same, like Diva, but Betty Blue, maybe, I don't know at this time why, well, it was a good film anyway. And it was also the upcoming of a new actress, Béatrice Dalle, who is somebody, she's. I got to know her. So, well, I don't know. You don't know why a film is a success or not. It just come that way.
But what about the French taste for controversy? Because, French critics do like to have, strong arguments about films. Usually we sit here and we say, oh, that film's nice and that film was nice. But in France, people seem to really go to war over films. And I'm thinking of another film of yours, which is Amélie, Le Fabuleux Destin d'Amélie.
Oui, Amélie, oui. Well, anyway, when a film is a big success, there are always people who will tell you they hate it, but that's normal. Yeah, it's normal. Amélie was criticized as a sort of postcard, you can't. You have that in England too, no? Sometimes a film is controversial. I think the last controversial thing was La Vie d'Adèle. In France, It's always most concentrated on the director, but still. But it's good to have controversy,
I think we could use more of it here.
You think so? Yeah.
So that was one of the films you made with Jean-Pierre Jeunet, and you've become sort of his acteur fétiche in a way.
Oui, that's what I'm used to hear it.
Yeah. So what happens? Does that mean, does he tell you he's working on a film and he's inventing a part for you? Does he write parts specifically for you? Or does he say, we've got to get you in here somewhere?
No, it doesn't tell me anything for years, and then suddenly he tell me he's written something and maybe I could do something in it. But, I know him, we're friends, but, well, he's doing a film every 5 or 6 years, so that's what I told him. I need to work between, because so I'm doing other things, I'm doing theater and well, now I don't know exactly what he's doing. Yeah, I think he's writing something. He's writing films, but I don't know much more.
So how did you meet him, first of all? Because you worked together on an incredible short called Foutaise.
Ah oui, Foutaise.
Which also is on YouTube.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And it's basically, it's just you talking and a lot of images.
Yeah,
and a lot of
the
close-ups.
principle is I like, I don't like. I don't know. If you go and see it, it's I'm talking and say, for example, I like pissing under the shower, and then there is an illustration of that, and or things like that. Well, it's a principle that he comment on dit, oh putain, that he did the same in Amélie to present a character, He likes doing this, he doesn't like doing that. Yeah. We did that short film right before doing Delicatessen. We shot that in 2 days, and that was a big success.
And in Foutaise, you get to do a lot of stuff with your face.
Yes, I do. Yeah.
Well, if you want to see exactly what Dominique can do with his face, Foutaise is a film to watch. You get these great close-ups and a lot of...
Oh, yeah.
But it's very funny. And so Delicatessen then was an extraordinary film because there you're very you're athletic. It's almost like, in some of the Janae films, it's almost like you're a bit of a circus performer because you have to use your whole body in a particular way.
Yes, I was young, and I was easier first. No, I did some things I had to learn, like the seesaw, and but it was before it was a very nice part. It was like a Prince Charmant. Huh? I would never think I would be given such a part in a film, and it was a well, like you told me before, for which film did you tell me? For Diva. Well, this one, we had the feeling on the set that we were doing something that would be something. It was a very first film for many of the actors, a first film for many technicians, and the script was so out of the way of the usual things you saw in the cinemas at this time that we had the feeling that we were doing something very peculiar. Mm-hmm. And yeah. Okay,
well, to give you an idea of how peculiar it was, could we, I don't know who's running this, could we have a clip? Yeah, hi. Could we have a clip from Delicatessen to show you exactly what we mean? Thanks. What is it like acting in a film like that? Because I imagine with Janae, this film is Janae and Caro working together, it must be very, very precise because the mise en scène is so, spot on, and there's a certain acting style, and all the camera positions are a certain way. So I guess it can't be about improvisation very much.
No, but not in that scene. But there's been improvisations. What he likes to do is, for example, the scene. We haven't seen the scene there, but there's a scene when I'm coming to my lover girl, Julie Clapet, and for tea to have tea in her apartment. And we rehearsed this scene for a long time, and we rehearsed, a lot of time the scene. I was supposed to sit here, and she was supposed to sit here, and I was supposed to pour tea on a glass this way and that way. And so when the day came where we had to shoot the scene, we were very prepared and everything. And you know that my lover girl in the film is supposed to be short-sighted, and so she had to rehearse a lot. And when we shot the scene, we did 1 take, 2 takes, and Jean-Pierre wasn't very happy. And so it just came to me, and he told me, instead of sitting there, you're going to sit here. And he just told the cameraman and the light director, and I was the only one to know it. My partner didn't know it. So when I did that, and she had a real panic, and the scene that is in the film is the result of that thing.
That's
so he likes sometimes to how would you say to rush to change
so
at
to
last
push
minute.
Things in a
push
different
things
direction.
different way to. Yeah.
And this film is so much about a certain style, 1930s, 1940s French cinema. Did he say, go and look at a lot of Marcel Carnet or something?
Yeah, of course. That's there were 2 directors, Caro and Janae, and they were fond of old French series, and they were fond of this period of the 50s, and also because a question of budget, because to have a set with all this kind of object is, well, in a way it's easier to get. It was easier to get at this time, and that's it.
Someone said to me tonight after Diva, it's amazing to think that was a first film, and it's amazing to think this is a first film, because they're incredibly elaborate. I don't think anyone would be allowed to make a first feature like this these days.
But it was, maybe, yes. Well, they had a hard time to find the right producer, because a lot of producers read the script and said, "What's that? What is it? What is that story about?" And until they found Claudie Ossard, the producer, who was very. She saw it was a very peculiar object, and she was very passionate producing it.
And then the same thing as with Ben X, Janae and Carole made a second film, which was quite controversial because it's massively ambitious, which was City of Lost Children.
Actually, they wrote The City of Lost Children before Delicatessen. Right. And they couldn't make it because it was it cost too much, and it was too massive, as you said. They wrote something who would happen in only one place, and they wrote Delicatessen. And afterwards, they came back to The City of the Lost Children, and that was controversial. Again, the second film,
Yeah.
So there was no indulgence.
Yeah. But what was it like making that film? Because that was a massive special effects movie with, it was like a kind of animated comic strip, but with human beings. Mm-hmm.
Yes. I saw the first script they wrote was still more huge. It was, they had to cut a lot. That was very ambitious, yes, and the shooting was something, that was in studio, and there was the sea, it was waves in studio, and that was a big, and especially it was a big thing with the kids, because there were a lot of kids, and they were playing in a very scary movie in a way, and so everything was organized so that the kids would not be afraid. You had to tell them a story before they were shooting a take. There were. Hold on, my English is getting worse and worse.
No, you're doing fine.
Oui, il y avait toute une organisation qui pour les faire patienter, leur raconter à chaque fois qu'on allait tourner une scène un petit peu.
D'accord.
Dure,
So the whole system to kind of get the children kind of in the mood and tell them a story to get them to understand what they were going to do and get them ready. Yeah. And how exactly, just so we know, how did Janae and Carol work together as co-directors? Because I always think that Carol was the special effects guy, but was it more complicated than that?
I would say there are two. Jean-Pierre would be more on the side of comedy. And Marc, would be more in the artistic things, details about costumes. But when they were filming, these two films, Delicatessen and The City of the Last Children, they would do the take together, and they would agree or disagree, but they were always together shooting, yeah.
Mm-hmm. And after they went their separate ways, you had quite a different sort of film with Jean-Pierre Jeunet, because it's your Hollywood movie, and it's his Hollywood movie. You did Alien Resurrection.
Oui.
What on earth was that like?
That was fantastic. When I came first to Paris, I was in drama school, and I went to see Alien, the first Alien, in cinema, maybe the Escurial. And I would never imagine that one day in my life I would participate in this alien adventure. And, well, it happened to me. It was just... I was going to do a project on theater, and Jean-Pierre called me. I didn't know what he was doing at the time. He told me, I'm in Los Angeles, je vais faire Alien. Okay. And I'd like you to be in the film. So I just dropped the theater and to go to Hollywood.
That's what happens.
Yeah, that's what happens. But that was participate to such a science fiction movie. I love science fiction, and I was in France. I would never have the opportunity to do to work such projects. So, and to be going to Hollywood for 6 months, and that was great. I loved it.
But was it a different experience? I mean, you've made some big films in France, but Alien Resurrection, massive. And do you lose a sense of the intimacy you might get on the European film set? Did you feel there's this kind of huge machine weighing on you?
Well, still it's cinema, At the end there is a camera and actors playing. So all the mess around, you forget about it. Je vais le dire en français parce que c'est un peu...
Oui, bien sûr.
Voilà. Un jour, évidemment, on est dans un film où il y a ce qui coûte beaucoup de millions, on est à la Fox, il y a des gens, plein de gens sur le plateau, on ne sait pas ce qu'ils font.
Okay, so when you're making a film with a massive multi-million-dollar budget with Fox and, loads of people on the set and you don't really understand what they do.
Et un jour, on tournait la scène où on sort de l'eau. We were shooting the scene where we're coming out of water. And tu sais, le trou d'eau dans lequel on est, c'est entouré d'œufs d'aliens.
Right,
des œufs d'aliens.
They're coming out of the water, un trou d'eau, so it's like a sort of water spout well, when there are two aliens waiting.
I don't know if some of you have seen the film, but you remember. And the eggs were working, they were just like that. So I thought it would be some kind of electronic control at distance, okay? And after 2 or 3 days shooting, j'ai vu en fait, j'ai vu, à la fin de la journée de tournage, j'ai vu une main sortir de dessous l'œuf. Et en fait, c'est un marionnettiste qui était en dessous.
Wow.
Et c'était formidable parce qu'on est dans un film à des millions de dollars. Et en fait, on s'aperçoit que ça reste de l'artisanat. Et c'est ça, c'est formidable.
So he assumed that these eggs were going to be mechanically operated,
Yeah.
and then after a while he just realised there was someone's hand in there working it, which just shows that, even in a multi-million-dollar movie like this, it's still, old-fashioned, handmade craftsmanship.
Et on avait un peu, à la même époque, il y avait le Titanic qui se tournait. Et Jean-Pierre pestait toujours parce qu'il disait qu'ils avaient pris tous les meilleurs pour aller tourner le Titanic au Mexique, et que lui, on lui avait donné un peu ce qui restait à la Fox pour travailler avec lui.
Le personnel.
Oui, pas le personnel, mais aussi le matériel, tout ça. Par exemple, on est...
Well, I'll just explain. So
Yeah.
that was when Titanic was being shot at the same time, and Jean-Pierre was going crazy because it kept saying, "Oh, they've taken all the good stuff to Mexico, to Mexico, with
Mexico,
them,
yes.
to make Titanic, and they've sort of left us the not so good stuff."
Mais par exemple, c'était un peu vrai parce que les armes, par exemple, que j'utilisais là sur ma chaise roulante, ça cassait tout le temps. C'est des trucs en plastique. On est dans un film à je sais pas combien de millions de dollars, et tu avais des armes en plastique qui cassaient dès que tu les utilisais.
Right. So he was in a wheelchair with these weapons, and they were just made of plastic, and they just kept breaking all the time. And you thought, what is this? This a multi-million-dollar film with plastic weapons?
Yeah, but there was I always remember the first day of shooting where we were shooting this underwater scene, and suddenly I was in Hollywood shooting with Sigourney Weaver underwater with me. I was fantastic.
And you have recently had another American experience in a film called My Old Lady with
Yes.
Maggie Smith
Yes?
and Kristen Scott Thomas.
Yes.
What was that like?
Well, I had scenes only with what's the name of the actor?
Kevin Kline.
Well, Kevin Kline, yeah. I spent lovely time with Kevin Kline. I just had 3 days of shooting in that film, but it was very, very lovely to work with him. And I knew the director,
Horowitz.
Israel
Horowitz,
Horowitz,
yeah.
Israel Horowitz, a new director from a theater experience with him, because he's doing theater is very much played in France, and that's how we got to know each other. And he wanted me to do a small part in the film.
Yeah.
Yes, that was delicious to do.
And let's talk about your theatre experiences, because you've done a lot, and you've worked with some major names. I realised that you actually worked with quite a legendary theatre name, but in TV, the playwright Fernando Arrabal. That you did something with him in 1983 called.
Actually, it was Fernando Arrabal that was in a film.
Right.
Le cimetière des voitures. Oui, avec Alain Bachung. Oui, that was a small thing, yeah. But I did things in theater, yes. I'm an actor, so it's do work on stage too. Yeah. I would say, actually, I was offered more interesting things these last years in theater than in cinema. So I'm doing work on stage.
Right. So what kind of range of things do you do? I mean, I know you've done readings, for example, as well.
Yeah, I love readings, and readings have taken much importance now in France because, it costs less than doing theater, and there are problems of money now in theater. So, but I love readings. Yeah, I do usually. Regularly I do readings, public readings. But I am still doing theatre.
So would those readings be of literary texts? And,
to read some. Do some registered thing, with some writers like I don't know if you know Jean Echenoz. Yeah,
the novelist.
Yeah. I did the last book, and different things. Children literature too. I love to do that. registered the last one, the memory of Roald Dahl.
The memory of Roald Dahl.
I never know how to pronounce his name. Roald Dahl?
Oh, Roald Dahl.
Roald
The
Dahl.
memoirs of
Roald Dahl.
Right. So you do these as, like audiobooks?
Yeah, audiobooks.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Right. So for what sort of voice do you have to do for Roald Dahl? Does he have a particular?
I just read the book.
Yeah. But I don't mean his voice. I don't mean you're impersonating
No, I
Roald
don't.
Dahl.
I don't know Roald Dahl. You know, I knew he was very happy that I was doing this, but I don't know his voice. I don't know. I just read. It's a lovely thing to read out loud. I do that since I'm a kid. My grandmother was very old when I was a child, and she was sick. She was always sick, and I was 6 or 7 years old, and I used to go and read her stories, and maybe that's why I became an actor, because I love to read stories.
Right.
Yeah.
What about the kind of physical stuff? I mean, the sort of stuff you do in those Janae and Carol films. There is, in Micmac, for example, which is one of their films which is less known here, one of Janae's films.
Oui.
But you are a sort of, again, there's a certain amount of circus skill in there. In a way.
Yes, but it's cinema. I'm playing, how do you say, cannonball man? Yeah?
Human cannibal.
Huh?
Human cannibal.
Human cannonball. But, I don't do it for good. So you just have to stay at the end of the barrel for hours. And I had to dive in the Seine, and which is not recommended.
No.
But I think acting is something physical. I mean, there is a physical pleasure to play. Yes, I know. I don't know. My friend Denis Lavant is there,
Is
and
here somewhere?
I love to see him play because he uses his body, and playing is not only the voice, and it's the body is important. As far as I have a body that works okay, I like to, yeah.
And you were telling me earlier that you and Denis Lavant had two projects which you've been talking about. One, for years, you've been talking about doing Waiting for Godot together.
Yes. Maybe we'll do it. I hope we'll do it one day. Yeah. And the second one
was you were going to play conjoined twins.
Oh yeah.
What was that?
That was a project. That was a long time ago. Was it in the 80s? With a guy, his name was called
Claude
Faraldo.
Who made Temrock.
Yeah, he made Temrock.
A legendary cult movie.
Yeah. And there was this project. We began to work on it and doing Siamese Brothers, and but that was never done.
Mm-hmm. We can rank it among one of the great lost films.
Yeah. There are a lot of projects like that,
Yeah. And I just want to talk briefly about another director you've worked with several times who is in a completely different world, and Edinburgh audiences probably know him because his films used to feature here, but that's Ken Mcmullen, British director.
Ken Mcmullen, I've been knowing him since 83, 84. He did his first film in Paris, Ghost Dance.
Starring Jacques Derrida, Robbie Coltrane.
Oui. And I knew him from through Pascal Augier. That's how we got. And since then, I made 30 years. He did other films. I did other films with him, and I might do the next one. He has a project around Hamlet. he's not very famous in England, no?
No, he's very kind of marginalised.
Some marginal, yeah, because people say he's very intellectual, and I don't think he's intellectual. He just like to mix. He's fond of history, he's fond of philosophy, and he's fond of cinema, and so he likes to mix fiction with interviews. He did the last film he did is called Oxy. It's about Greece, so it's like that. It's mixed with interviews with fiction, and it's beautiful. Mm-hmm. It's really beautiful.
Okay, we're going to open up things in a minute, but we'll just have another clip first, because there's another film you made with a director, a French director, who is also not so well known in Britain, but he was known in the 1960s. His films don't normally come here, but this was the one where, for the first time, the critics in France decided we like him after all, and this was Claude Lelouch.
Oui.
We're going to have a clip in a minute, but it's a film called Roman de Gare. Can you tell us about this?
How would you translate that in
station novel? Station novel, like a paperback novel you would buy on a station platform. Is that
Pulp Fiction?
Pulp Fiction, yeah. That's a great title for a film. Someone really.
Yes, that was a surprise for me. He was looking for an actor. I had a screen test for the part, and he's been looking a long time for an actor to play the part, and I passed the test, and that was a great part to play. He wanted someone. Well, he wanted an actor not unusual actor. The film is about identity. The part is about it's someone who changes identity. Yeah, and it's a love story. It's a very simple love story, as he used to do in his first films.
Right. Most famously,
very simple,
Un
like
homme et une femme.
Un homme et une femme, and he did a few films like that. Very, very, very good films. After he did some huge sort of sentimental opera, but this one he came back to his first style, I would say, and the film is lovely. I like him. I like it very much.
All right. Can we have a bit of Roman de Gare, please? Well, so if you didn't get the dialogue, you certainly got the husky voice of Fanny Ardant. If I got this right, I don't know the context because I haven't seen the film, but he's a writer. He's planning to write ghostwriter, and he's talking about a novel he's going to write, which is like a metaphysical road movie about a character with different personalities. He could be a serial killer or he could be an academic, and it's called Dieu est un autre, God is another, and he's written the blurb for it himself. Yeah, right.
But in fact, he's a ghostwriter of Fanny Brandon. Right. Fanny Ardant, okay. Yeah.
And what was it like working with her? Because she has such a kind of extraordinary presence. You're doing something very different there. It's a different Dominique Pinon, I think.
Oui. Different?
Very. Seems quite sort of minimalist. Your style there. Very muted.
Well, I don't know. With Claude Lelouch, it's easy to. This film was very written, so because sometimes he let improvisation, but this one was very written. And working with Fanny Ardant was just no problem for me. She was very nice with me, and so it was we were born in the same city.
Oh, right.
So
in
Saumur.
Saumur.
Yeah.
Okay. Right.
Well, I don't know what I'm saying then, but...
Right. Okay. All right, we've got some time for questions, and I'm going to sort of squint past these very bright lights. I don't know if there are any microphones going around, but if not, we'll just shout. So, who would like to? Yes, please, over here.
During Becky Blue.
Pardon?
During Becky Blue, Paul said something, which is why we called it
Betty Blue. Yeah.
Your character didn't make it in the first cut, so it was almost when John Binex had his version integral, your character was introduced. How does that make you as an actor? What does that make you feel as an actor?
Oh, it's all right, you know. I knew I was doing only one scene, and well, as far as the time on the set was nice, and I did my job okay. Well, I respect it. I mean, it's okay. Well, I'd rather recommend to see the long version with the scene, of course, but that's the way it is in cinema. Often yeah, but that's okay.
Apparently, Terrence Malick's actors go and see his films. They sit there, okay, wait a minute, I'm not in it.
Where am I? Yeah.
Some great actors have not been in Terrence Malick films. Yeah, yes, please. Yes, please.
Is there any particular role you're most proud of?
Well, proud of. Well, there are parts that are dear in my heart, you know. But proud. I'm not proud of the parts. I'm proud of. I might be proud. Yeah, the work I've done. But I mean the you know. Of course, Delicatessen, and I love that there's this Roman God too. It was a very because it's always a good thing for an actor to play a character with different identities and to play with it. It's very nice to play. There's a lot of the things I've done on stage too. You know, I played a lot of characters on stage, and a lot of them I enjoy doing my job. So.
What was it like working on Outlander?
Oh, that was good. I didn't know the series before I was cast in it, and my agent called me and told me if I accepted to do some test for Outlander. I didn't know the series. What was it? And
You were in season 2.
Season 2, yes. In France, we didn't know at that time. We didn't know season 1. It wasn't released in France. Now it's running on Netflix in France too, and that was very nice. And actually I like to work in English because it makes me work. You know, I have to do a lot of work. In order to come to the set very prepared, and I like to work with English and Scottish actors. All these young guys, they were very nice, and my main partner was Pinon and Balfi, and I like the series. It's the story is it's a time traveler, you know, like you say, and. I loved it, yes, and I hope I'll be. I think they told me I am time traveler too, so I might be in season 3 or season 4. And it's always, you know, it's always a good thing for an actor to have some security, to know.
They might make you travel forward in time, right to series 6.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I loved it, and it's a very good series. Yeah. My favorite country. On what point of view?
As an actor, so creatively.
Well, creatively, of course, I would say, as far as the language is a country, evidently my country is France. My language is French. So I'd rather play in French because it's my culture. It's my natural way of acting. But I like always. I've been I did a film in Spanish. I did a film in German once, TV German. But I'm more like a parrot, you know. I just learn the words and. But I like to work in English because, as I said, it's something more you have to work on. It's like another mask you're playing with, and as far as you play, I don't work, I play. That's my privilege, you know, and So I would say I like very much to work in English. Yeah.
Yes, please.
Although there is certainly a greater distribution of subtitled films than there was 15, 20 years ago, there is still, particularly in America, a resistance to subtitled films. Are there any films you think should have broken out wider than they did, simply because they were French?
I'm not sure I understand your question. I understand
Il y a
you,
des
but
films qui, selon vous, auraient dû être mieux connus, qui ont été méconnus ou négligés parce qu'ils sont français, parce qu'il y a un problème pour les gens, pour l'Amérique, d'accepter des films sous-titrés.
Ah oui.
Ou ici même.
You mean the any film? You mean?
You've been in.
I've been in. Well, Roman Garde, for example. But I was lucky enough because the film of Jean-Pierre Jeunet has been very successful in the United States.
You mentioned Micmacs was not as big. I loved Micmacs.
Yeah.
I thought it was fantastic.
Yes, but I don't think the question of the subtitles is a matter of success or not. Micmac was less successful in France too, so I don't know.
Can I just
Sorry.
add just very quickly?
Yeah.
When probably,
Here you go.
Can I just add very quickly that Jim Hickey, when he introduced Betty Blue, junior school, was it last night actually? It's in one. Made a point to say that, just follow on your very point, that it was one of the first films that he did introduce to the Edinburgh Film Festival, which had subtitles. And he was very nervous, especially because of the first scene, which is a very sexual scene, that had people that you receive it. So basically, it just kind of shows us how recent we are to this whole subject of subtitling. And honestly, unlike other countries, I really hope we can keep subtitling passionately.
Non, c'est vrai, il y a peut-être une résistance envers les sous-titres. It's
Oui.
true, actually. I mean, I've been going through a lot of films on TV listings recently, and you get hundreds of films on British TV every week, and maybe every week there are like sort of 2 or 3 foreign language films. So it's true, there's definitely a resistance there.
We personally, I'd rather, of course, see American films with subtitles, any foreign films with subtitles, because when it's how do you say, doubled, it's awfully, like Outlander, for example. It's shown in French, and the version in French is awful. No, I mean it's true. You know, the girl Catherine Belfi. She's a wonderful actress. She's got a voice. She's got personality, and her voice in French is absolutely No, it's not good.
What about you? Do you dub your own voice in the French version?
Yes,
about
of course.
them?
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Yes, in the centre.
What I wondered, how did you find working with Stanley Weber?
With?
With Stanley Weber?
Do you want the microphone? Thank you.
What film is it?
How did you find working with Stanley Weber on
Stanley
Outlander?
Ah, Stanley Weber.
And
Stanley
which-
Weber. Weber.
Weber.
On which
And
film?
if the chance,
He's French, you know.
yeah, sorry. And if the chance, would you work with him again?
Sorry, which film is this?
This is on Outlander.
It's the Outlander, yes.
Yeah.
Well, we were four French actors.
Yeah.
The kid is French too, you know.
Yes.
And well, yes, we were. There's a small club of French actors playing in it, and yeah, that's okay. Right?
Okay, over there.
You said you learned to play the saw in Delicatessen. I was just wondering, since the movie, did you ever like just get it out?
Did you all hear that? He played the saw in Delicatessen. Do you ever get it out?
Do I?
La scie
Oui, la
que
scie
vous avez
musicale.
appris dans
Oui.
Delicatessen, vous sortez votre scie des
Oui.
fois, vous pratiquez un peu.
No, I don't practice anymore. But you know, it's quite easy to play. Once you got the nice way to bend it, anyone can play. If you have an ear and yeah, it's not that difficult.
Well, we've actually got one here.
But it's very after a while, it's very boring, you know.
What is your best tune on the saw?
My best tune? Well, the music I'm playing in Delicatessen. Well, I only knew this one, so.
You don't have like a whole repertoire?
No, I don't have a whole range of melodies.
Yes, please.
What's your favorite films? Any Scottish films among those?
Scottish film.
No. What's your favorite ones? And maybe some Scottish ones.
Well, what are your favourite? They don't have to be Scottish,
Ah, okay.
but it would help.
I don't know. There are many films. The very first film I saw when I was a teenager were films with Jean-Paul Belmondo. And then there are a lot of films that there's been a film I like how do you don't say black films
Série noire.
série noire, yeah,
Yeah.
like
Film
very
noir.
much, yeah,
Film
yeah.
noir.
The film noir. There is one film, but I think the director is Richard Brooke in Cold Blood.
Oh yeah,
It's a fantastic film.
based on the Truman
I
Capote.
saw it when
book.
I arrived in Paris, and they show it in some cinema in Paris, and it's a great movie. There is no famous actor in it. All actors are unknown, and it's after the book of Truman Capote, and the film is just fantastic. It's after a true story, you know, and yeah, it's just it's one of the films that impressed me very much.
Mhm.
Many films, you know.
Go ahead.
Do you think that l'exception culturelle is like an important safety net for artists in France?
I don't know. I don't. Exception culturelle, je sais pas trop. Oui, c'est ça. Sans doute, c'est important. Oui. I don't know. Je ne sais pas répondre à ça.
Okay, so the answer is maybe.
Because I don't know what it is about exactly. I always heard that's exception culturelle. I don't know. Well, I don't know.
Well, it seems to be about France protecting its culture maybe better than most countries do.
In Europe, yes, yes, of course. So it's important, yes.
Okay.
I'm an exception cultural myself. So.
Yes, please.
What is more important for you to work as an actor in theatre or in films? What is more?
I don't make the difference. I'd like to play more in films than I do, but I'm going where people want me. You know, in this job you depend on the desire of people. So, but I'd rather do more films than I would than I do. But I love theatre. I mean, I love to. Yes, of course.
But you do.
I love
Sorry.
playing in a film, playing on stage. Same thing. The way is different, but the goal is the same: to enjoy yourself and to make people enjoy. That's it.
And you do work a lot. You've made, I think, something like 85 films, plus a number of TV series. Do you tend to remember everything you've done, or do you sometimes look at your filmography and think,
a lot of films I did a very small part, and but the one I remember, of course, for example, the one we saw tonight, because they are important steps, and I didn't have so many big part in cinema. I'm always, how do you say in English?
what, lead roles?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So every time it occurs to me, for me it's a big event in my life. So of course I remember them first.
Right. Okay. Yeah, up there, and then we've got one at the back.
Here you are.
There's an amazing sex scene in Amelie where you apparently rocked the building. Did you enjoy that?
Sex scene. Yeah. Well, the people enjoy talking about this. You know. This is cinema, you know.
Okay. That's a very brief and discreet reply.
I had a question. What kind of roles do you enjoy the most playing and find the most challenging? The more toned down, dramatic roles, like the last scene that we saw without subtitles, or the more quirky, offbeat characters like in Delicatessen and City Lost Children?
I like all kind of parts. As far as I am surprised, as far as I'm each part is different from one another. So I can't say in advance that I would rather play such a character. I'd like to be surprised by what I'm proposed to do. Shall I be able to do that? Yeah, of course.
Okay. Yes, please.
You ever played Shakespeare?
I did play Shakespeare, yes. I played 2 years ago The Tempest. I was playing, what's his name? Oh, God. Huh?
Prospero, Caliban.
Which character?
Caliban.
Mm-hmm.
Caliban. And I played Midsummer Night's Dream. Puck. And I played Richard III. And what else? King Lear.
Wow, that's quite a range.
Well,
it sounded like there was
the
a
basic,
second half
the
to
basic,
that question.
I would say.
Was there?
What would be your perfect Shakespeare role?
Hmm?
What would be your perfect role? Your perfect
I love to play Richard III. It was lovely to play. I don't know all Shakespeare. No, I've not read it all. But yeah, why not another one day? Yeah.
Were those English or French?
Oh, French. And I wouldn't dare play Shakespeare in English.
Okay, well, if there aren't any more, don't go away yet because we're going to have one last clip.
Oh, yeah?
So let's finish. You may have seen it earlier this evening, but it's going to be a pleasure to see it again. So let's have a clip from Diva. I'm just going to ask you one question about this. This was your first feature role. Did you really get into the part? Did you turn yourself into a vicious bastard to play this character?
Of course. No.
You didn't sort of psych yourself up. You didn't go on set every day in character.
No. It was. In fact, I was my first film, and I was very. The first time I discovered the set and what it was, and I wasn't very. What should I say? I'm tired, excuse me. Non, j'étais plutôt un peu impressionné par le plateau,
Yeah.
J'étais pas du tout. Non. Je crois qu'il y a des rôles où l'habit suffit.
Mhm.
L'habit fait le moine.
Right.
Suffit de
I was
se
a
raser la
bit
tête.
overwhelmed by by being on set and everything, and sometimes there are roles where the clothes do the work, and they do the work very well here, and you do the work very well. So
Yeah.
it's been a real pleasure for you having you here tonight. It's been a
Merci
pleasure,
beaucoup.
all of you. Thank you very much. And
Thank you very much.